When did I start? April 1942.
1953.
1976.
When I started, there were no fax machines, there were no pagers, there were no cell phones, there were no computers.
We're all in this together, and, you know, I mean, we're in it for each other, right?
Anyway, we were fortunate. We had a lot of good people, and the company's people.
How great we thought it was that Ray Rosendin could have sold this company and made a fortune, and he elected to offer it to Tom Sorley and Larry Beltramo and let the employees own this company.
And I'm telling you, we have an incredible amount of talent within this organization. I am very excited about the future of Rosendin Electric.
And I was blessed to work, and I was happy to work for Rosendin all those years. Lou and Ray, I knew them both, and they were good men.
They were a good company. They took care of me, I took care of them.
Rosendin stressed workmanship, so we always did a good job for them. We're kind of proud of that, I think.
They're amazing as far as the company, their product, their services.
And like I said, I got lucky. I got to be an electrician and I got to work for Rosendin. You know, the perfect storm.
I have some really good memories of a lot of good people that I work with.
And I consider the Rosendin to be, and still today, to be part of my family.
But I had great times there. I enjoyed going to work, and it gave me a good life. 42 years here, and I'm not planning on leaving anytime soon. I enjoy coming to work every day, and I always have.
People worked hard. People worked hard in that trade. It's a good trade, and it's a very honorable trade.
Great people.
It sounds too good to be true. A company where the employees think of each other like family. A company where people stay, not for years, but for decades. Generations, sons and daughters working together with their parents. A company started by one man and now employing thousands across the country that turned into a $2 billion company. A company with an employee who was hired in 1942, goes off to war, then comes back and works for 50 more years. A company that innovates, promotes from within, where people are proud of where they work. A company owned by its employees, fully invested in its success. This is Rosendin. How does something like this happen? Who started this? Moses Rosendin, an immigrant from Mexico, a World War I veteran. He saw a need in the agricultural industry, and in 1919, he founded Rosendin Motor Works.
My father had a small metal building behind our house and a basement where the accounting was done. My mother worked on the books. So that's my beginning of family life.
This area was an agricultural area, as we all know. They used to pump water, the farmers used to pump water, and once in a while the motors would go bad and they'd have to be repaired. So Rosendin would go out to the farms and haul them in, repair them, and return them.
He had a small crew, of course, at Ray Street. As far as I remember, maybe 3 men, working there.
It was just like one family working together, It was wonderful.
Relationships were extremely important at all times, from the beginning to today. And it really made a family thing out of the thing. It was, everybody was very amicable, they were friendly.
But he was a man of his word. I mean, even if he took a loss on a job, that's too bad, you know, he'd do it.
And this mindset helped Rosendin survive the worst economic era of our history. After the rapid growth of the Roaring Twenties, the stock market crashed in 1929. That was also the year Moses and Bertha's first son, Ray, was born. Then a few years later, their second son, Lou.
I was born when our home and business was located at 78 Ray Street in San Jose. My father, you know, at that time I didn't really understand all of what he was doing, because he was gone a lot and he had a motor shop in the back. And then I started getting involved in cleaning out, removing coils from the motors, and just doing little grunt work that a 6 or 8 year old kid could do. Keep the floors clean, obviously was top priority. If the business was the whole family experience, it was just a given to me that this is where I'm going to be spending my life.
When I started with him, the war was had just started, and so he acquired some contracts with Pacific Bridge, a shipbuilding company. He sent me up there to do what I had to do, you know, what I was told to do. And
he procured some sizable work during the war, but it was primarily on ships and airfields.
Our company's always been about being a good citizen. In fact, I recall hearing a story that during World War II, Moses Rosendin, our founder, actually did a lot of work for the government at cost because he felt it was his duty as a citizen here to do that and help the country.
We kind of got on a good roll because there was a lot of construction after World War II, and you know, with subdivisions, schools were galore. I mean, it was just...
I remember the largest contract they had at the time was a school called the Broadway School. It's in Willow Glen, and the size of the contract was $22,000. So it was a very, very small contract compared to what they do now. You know, now it's in the millions.
Started in my teens, kind of getting into estimating, seeing how my father was estimating a job. That was very rewarding to me, and I started putting a lot of time into it. And it kind of affected my schoolwork a little bit too. But I just loved doing this work, you know. It was made for me, you know.
After 3 decades of growth, adversity, war efforts, and then an economy that was booming like never before, what's next? What would happen to the company after it's handed off to the next generation?
Actually, that transition had a rather hectic beginning, as it was neither planned nor by choice. I had only been working full-time for the firm less than 4 years after graduating from engineering school when my father became seriously ill and was no longer able to return to work. So I took over. Up until that time, I had worked for my father as an apprentice during high school and college summers. My younger brother Louis had already joined the company, so we shared responsibilities. He was 21 and I was 24. Louis and I faced a big challenge, but what helped us to succeed, that we had both been mentored at one time or other over the years by talented foremen. Our company had a good esprit de corps and a loyal group of electricians. The men and women who worked together with us during this difficult period, giving their advice and support, I hold in the highest esteem, having a debt of gratitude for the advice, service, and commitment they gave to me, my brother, and the company. In those early years, I wasn't thinking legacy, just survival. Fear of failure is a great motivator.
He had had a heart attack about 5 or 6 years earlier. And but he still came around the office, but he wasn't really involved in a lot of the stuff, you know. And he watched his health. He started doing some traveling, which my mother always wanted, you know, because never had the time to do it, you know. He kind of let us go, you know. He kind of let my brother and I just do what we were doing, and we were doing it well, and you know, he was very proud of what was happening, and he passed away in '59, as I remember, 1959.
The company grew, and we ended up doing electrical work for all the big corporations, IBM and Fairchild. Intel was one of them. General Electric was here. It's been going like topsy, you know, just growing.
Yeah, 70s and 80s we started doing some major work.
Almaden Fashion Plaza. I worked on that job. That was a big job. 32 buildings.
The first place I went was East Ridge. There was this huge sea of mud with 4 holes in it. One of them became Macy's, one of them became Penny's, one of them became Sears, and one of them became Emporium.
The job just took off. It just became from a 2-man, 3-man job, putting some pipe in for parking lot lighting. The next thing, within a year, we had 50 or 60 men on the job. And as you know, we're still working there. And that was 1981 when I went to Bishop Ranch.
A lot of work at Moffett Field, did a tremendous amount of work at Moffett Field for the Navy and for NASA, high-rise buildings. It was a great time. It was a great time.
I went in there one day and everybody was jumping and there might have been champagne, I don't remember for sure. And I said, hey, what's going on? And they said, we just got $1 million job. Rosendin Electric has $1 million job. And it was, you know, hats, horns.
When you got our first $1 million job, we were just thrilled. And it was a milestone for us.
How is the total emergency?
Cypress section of the West Grand Freeway has come down.
The Cypress structure has collapsed. 25238, we have a major injury.
Building started rumbling. We looked out in the parking lot, and the cars were bouncing up and down, and pretty soon everything went dark. The electricity went off, and the whole building was shaking. So I remember quite vividly about that 89 quake.
In 1989, during the earthquake, I was at the Giants-A's World Series game. After the earthquake had happened, most people thought, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal, and the game will probably be delayed a little bit, but it'll start. Little portable TVs were brand new back then. And everybody's talking, and this guy in the row in front of me says, you guys can't believe it, the Bay Bridge has collapsed. Everyone thought the guy was just making a joke. And he held up his little miniature TV, and you saw the section of the Bay Bridge that was down with a car hanging on it. That section landed on a transformer below. We took that transformer and lowered it to a barge, and we craned a new transformer. We had that job after. And they told us if we could have that bridge open for Thanksgiving weekend, everybody would get a big bonus, and I don't remember what it was. When they told Lou Rosendin that, I said, you know, we're gonna have that thing open because Lou wants that money. and the Bay Bridge was open for Thanksgiving weekend.
In the late 70s, I began to give consideration on a possible exit strategy for me that would leave a successful, thriving company in place.
The transition to us becoming an ESOP was not something that we had any participation in. That was a Rosendin family decision that they made. They ultimately decided that it was the best interest of the employees here and also the family if we became an employee-owned organization.
What the change to an ESOP company did was establish a culture of ownership. It was a gradual change that took place after Rosendin enjoyed some successful years and people actually saw the increase in the stock price and their individual ESOP account. It created a lot of excitement and much more pride in what we accomplished.
Ray Rosendin invited a group of us down to the St. Clair Club, and at that time told us that he was going to give the company to the employees. Originally, the timeline was to have that completed in 2015, but our employees were so motivated and inspired by having ownership in the organization that that transaction was completed in 2000-2001.
Then over the next couple of years after the employees took over, you just felt like you owned this place.
I think it changed the culture, yeah, I really do. And I think there was a lot of empowerment when we turned to an ESOP company.
Right around that time, Rosendin started to get more diversified in the types of projects we built. We had success on wind farms, started building data centers, and performed much more design build work. People were truly taking on an ownership mindset, and it was creating even more success.
And once we became an employee-owned company, things really exploded and got big.
And we always had a lot of diversified work. We did a lot of traffic signaling, we did a lot of airfield work at San Francisco Airport, we did a lot of commercial buildings. At the time, chip fabs were getting built around here a lot.
There's just tremendous growth and a diversification of work that can't be duplicated. No one else could say that they have the wide spectrum of work that Rosendin has.
We have bid the largest variety of jobs you can imagine. Everything but underwater jobs, I think.
After the employees took over as owners, technology advanced at a rapid pace. But how did that change us as a company?
I've seen a lot of changes kind of over the time. We've gotten rid of a lot of the paper plans. I remember when I was working in the old building here, we'd have paper plans on these plan tables and you could smoke in the building, and we were always getting burn holes and fires in the plans. We did things quite a bit differently.
When I started, there were no fax machines, there were no pagers, there were no cell phones, there were no computers.
Nothing existed as far as, computer information. There was no computer age back then. So we had walls of books.
Then they walked in one day and threw a computer on my desk, and I didn't even know what it was. I was like, that's my desk, what are you doing?
What we're able to do now is night and day compared to then.
Just the last 10 or 15 years, the size of the jobs in dollars have gone up astronomically. Now we see $20 million jobs on a daily basis.
Well, I said to Larry one day, I said, where you been, Larry, all over the world? And his answer was, well, no, just over the United States lately. And it's kind of like back in the early days, it would have been, I've been all over Santa Clara County, And
people used to say, when you walked up to them, Rosendin Electric, aren't you guys out of California? Yes. And now they see it as Rosendin Electric National.
We're nationwide. We've got a nationwide footprint. This is a completely different organization than it was in the 80s, and it has to be because we've grown by more than 10 times.
We've come a long way since 1919. The world has changed, the industry has changed. We, the employees, have owned our company for almost 20 years. So where are we now?
In 1992, we were doing about $75 million in revenue, and today we're doing around $2 billion in revenue. We grew from probably 300 or 400 people in the organization to something in excess of 5,000 employees now, working across the nation in probably 16 or 17 offices, almost every geographic area, and a wide diversity of work from high-tech to renewables to data centers, healthcare. We touch almost every industry out there.
We have quite a history. We have an amazing company. We are an industry leader. What does the future hold for Rosendin?
There's no reason for us to sit on our hands and stop. I really believe we are going to continue to do the same thing. Keep in mind, in the last 10 years, we also rode out a very major recession. And still, look where we are right now. I truly believe we can keep that process going.
Going forward, I can definitely see Rosendin continuing to grow. We're currently in a position to where the size of the projects that are out there and the competencies required to do these projects that we build today, they're limited in who has the capacity and the competency to take those projects on. Our organization does.
The thing that excites me is the talent that's here with all the younger guys and the opportunity that's here. Cream will keep rising to the top, and I think we'll keep being successful and being the best contractor there is in this country.
Our ability to go out and take on large, complex projects is really good, but to be able to do it in any area of the country really separates us from most of our competition.
What would Moses think of where we are now?
I wanted Rosendin Electric to carry on my father's name, his reputation, integrity, and the opportunity to continue his work. He was a kind, respected gentleman who was always there for those in need, and I wanted to ensure that we captured all these attributes in a legacy company that would honor him. I think we have achieved that goal as Rosendin Electric continues to grow and prosper while maintaining our vision, integrity, standard of excellence in all the projects we undertake here and around the world.
And how do we, the employees, really feel about Rosendin?
Rosendin's a big part of my life, you know, and the relationships here, my friends here, are my friends outside of work.
I like my boss, I like the people I work with, and we're like family. So when we come in, it's just like, hey, you know what I mean? I like coming to work.
I just feel like Rosendin was had given me the helping hand, say, here's the tools, if you want to be better, you can, right? Regardless of where I come from, or my age, or my gender, or, you know, nationality, it doesn't matter. Rosendin, you know, is here to do business, and they don't care who does it, they just want the best.
And even now, I'm retired, I still have people calling me up saying, Carl, is there a chance that I can get to Rosendin? Can you help me?
It's been a great career. It's been an honor and a blessing to work for a company that has grown this much.
A blessing for me and my family. Rosendin has treated me right, and I certainly love working here.
Anyway, we were fortunate. We had a lot of good people, and the company is people.
I think we've got a lot of great people. People have choices about where they work, and for whatever reason, we've been very fortunate to attract people with a common goal and a common feel for one another, for customer care, for excellence, for just being good people. A couple of years ago, I actually went out and said that, because I tell customers this all the time. Hey, listen, if you want to know something about our organization, go spend some time with anyone that works here. What you will find out is that we are just good people. doing good work. High competency, high capacity, great character. That's who we are.